you guys, I'm Havilah Cunnington, and I'm coming live to you from my home in Northern California. I live in Redding, California, and I want to talk for a few minutes about overcoming fear and anxiety, but really the idea of tackling vulnerability and authenticity. I'm really glad you're here, and for all of you guys that are going to rewatch this, I'm glad that you're also rewatching this. So I want to talk for a few minutes about transparency and vulnerability and the reality of how that works in our lives. Because, you know, I'm at the beautiful age of 40. I have 4 kids. I'm a minister. I'm an ordained minister of 15 years. I travel, I speak, you know, all that good stuff. And I'm an author and all those things, right? Those are just titles. But who I really am is I'm a woman. I'm a daughter. I'm a wife. I'm me, and I've lived with me for like 40 years. And what I've learned early on was that I am transparent, but I'm not always vulnerable. And what I mean by that is I can tell you what happened. I can tell you the ins and outs of my life. I can share with you exactly what happened to me. I can even tell you the ugly truth. But me being transparent requires something totally different. And for me specifically, I need trust. I'm one of those where I'm a little more private and I need a little bit of trust. Is anybody else out there? If that's true for you, like shake a hand at me or wave or heart or whatever. So I want to talk to you about something that I faced like this last week. So I'm going to tell you a story, and then I want to give you some thoughts about how this works in our everyday life. And then we'll talk and I'll answer questions at the end of this. So in my life, I have this group of friends that I meet with consistently, and they're my core group, and I love them. And we just have done life together for a couple of years. And it's nothing really fancy. We don't like do lives every single day together, but every other week we get together and we have a meal together, and we put all of our kids to bed, and we show up at a house and we talk for a couple hours, and we share the highs and the lows of our lives. And you know, I have had my share of really great experiences with girls and community and core groups, and I've had my experience with my friend groups of just really bad and really negative and gossip and people throwing you under the bus and being cruel. And so I've had all of that. So I've really taken a risk to be a part of this group. And specifically when you have more of people watching you in your everyday life, you have a tendency to already protect yourself because everything you post gets critiqued. Everything you say, I mean, you could be doing something and you're in your pajamas or you're doing something, and then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, you're so-and-so, and you immediately feel kind of exposed. Even though you don't want to, you just kind of feel like, oh man, what was I saying, or what was I doing, or was I yelling at my kids, or whatever it is. So anyway, we have this group, and recently we've been sharing, but I feel like I haven't been able to share my heart with them. Like I'm sharing updates and I'm sharing information, I'm sharing facts, but I'm not sharing my heart. And last time I left there, I felt kind of awkward about it. Like I know I'm not really sharing my life. I know I'm sharing facts. I know I'm sharing basic things, but I'm not sharing my guts. I'm not sharing who Havilah is behind all of the stuff that she's doing. And I want to. Everybody deep down, all of us want to be known for who we are, not for what we do. All of us want to be loved for who we are, not for what we provide. And so that's critical for us being healthy people, is having people in our lives that see the real us. But I also know that just because you tell me, oh, you're garbage or dirt or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're connected. So I understand that. So anyway, long story short, I leave, and one of my girlfriends in the group texts me and she says, Havilah, I see what's happening, and I'm noticing that you're not getting a lot of time to share your heart, and I'm noticing that you know, it's kind of hard for you, like what's up? And I hated the fact that she called me out on it, because I thought I was faking it really well. I thought like, oh, nobody knows this, and I'm clearly telling them all the, you know, the gory details of my everyday life. But when she called me out, I knew I had a decision to either tell her, no, that you're reading this wrong, you're off, I'm fine. Or I had an opportunity to evaluate what's going on in my own heart and say, do I have a vulnerability issue? Like, am I getting stuck in an area? And am I being transparent, but am I not being vulnerable? Am I not giving a place for people to really speak in my life? So I kind of wrestled with it. I think I was kind of ashamed that I dealt with it. Like, why am I, like, I'm a leader, I'm a wife. Like, do they even really need to know you kind of talk yourself out of these moments, right? Like, I'm not that important. It's narcissistic. Why do they even need to know me that way? Like, you know, what's the big deal? But I knew I have an opportunity, because every time we want to be transparent and vulnerable with somebody, we have an opportunity to grow. But it always costs us. It's just like love, you know? It's like that first time you use the L word, and you ask somebody, they're like, when did you use the L word? And everybody kind of knows that was the moment I used the L word, because that's the moment of not just telling them like, I like you and you're awesome, but like that transparency of like, I love you. Because once we say we love them, it means that they can hurt us. It means that they have a place in our hearts. They have access to us that not everybody has in our everyday world, right? So all that to say, I had opportunities. So I told my husband, I'm like, babe, I'm going to talk to the girls tonight. I'm going to tell them that I'm not connecting. I'm going to tell them that I'm not getting what I need. And for some of us, like telling somebody what we need, basically the narrative inside of us is that we're needy. For some of us, telling somebody that we have a need, tell somebody that we are arrogant, or that we are better than somebody else that we would have a need. Sometimes, you know, telling somebody that we have a need, we say it in a passive aggressive way. Like, you should just read my mind if you really love me, right? These are all like cycles that we get into when it comes to transparency. So I went through all that, and I was struggling to be honest, but I knew this is an opportunity for me to show up. So I went to the dinner that night, and I was a little late, which I was like, of course, the night I'm going to share is the night I'm late. So of course I'm already like out of it. But I go in and I'm like, hey guys, I got to tell you something. Like, I love our times together. I love what we're doing, but I'm having a really hard time connecting. I feel like I've had the last couple times been together. My time has been shortened, and I feel like I could hide behind being transparent, but I want to be authentic, and I want to be vulnerable, and I want to tell you what's up. And I said, I just want to share with you what's going on. And I just spent some time unpacking what was happening in my own heart. And they were so wonderful, because when we really show up transparently, I think everybody wants to embrace you. It's like you're the only one that's really nervous about it. Everybody else is like, oh, you're human. Thank you. Oh, I love that. I feel the same way. I feel like a fraud, or I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, or I feel like I messed that up. And we all connect with that. But somehow in our everyday life, we get stuck thinking it doesn't really matter. We don't want to show people. And at the end of it, it wasn't like this massive moment where I'm like weeping and they're holding me and they're singing Kumbaya. It wasn't anything, you know, sexy like that. But it was just me knowing that it was important. Like, it was critical that I shared what was happening in my heart. It was critical to my health. It was critical to my mind. It was critical to my relationship. And if I don't share that with them, our relationship pauses. It's not bad. It's a great relationship. It would be a great relationship. It would last, but my relationship would pause. That's as deep as it would go, because the moment I don't actually share the internal part of where I'm at and what's going on is the moment they don't really know me. And it's not just, listen, it's not just that they need to know it. It's that you internally know immediately that you're not being honest. And once you stop being honest with yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody else believes, you start to break up with yourself. You start to not trust. You start to feel like you're acting, and you're going to have to go after that. So in my world, I shared, they were like, thank you so much. They showed up. I might have even cried a little bit, but it was like pivotal in my life. And for somebody who deals with not wanting to be vulnerable, loving transparency, but not being vulnerable, these moments are significant for me. They're critical. And for all of us, there are moments in our lives where it's like, you know, when you've ever given God your heart, or like in publicly done something and you're like, does it matter? Like, I could pray this prayer and no one's around. Like, I could say this, nobody's around. There's something about it costing you in the middle of it that creates worth. That's all I know how to explain it as. So for me, I know my own tendencies. You have your own tendencies, but mine is very much this. So for me, I knew the moment I shared this was the moment that I was going to gain more freedom, and I was going to belong to myself, and I was going to belong to them. And I showed up. And I celebrated that. And I knew when I got in my car last night, it was like almost midnight. I got in my car and I'm like, I feel this release, this deep sense of connection to the world, connection to God, connection to my friends, connection to myself. I showed up. That's what I want to challenge you. I don't mean just getting on a Facebook and posting everything. I don't mean just dumping on a friend. I'm talking about getting somebody in your world that you can say, hey, here's where I'm at. I don't need you to solve this. I don't even need a suggestion. I just need you to hear me out, and I need you to be with me. I need you to stand with me. And I just need to know, I just need to have the practice of being able to communicate what's really going on in my own heart and allowing myself to hear myself say it. Does that make sense? Like, allow yourself to hear yourself say, hey, I don't have all the answers, but here's what I do know. And it's healing and it's beautiful. So for those of you guys that are jumping on right now, and I love that you're on here, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, actually I'm on both of you guys. If you guys think this would speak to somebody, would you share this on your wall or share it with a friend? Because these messages are critical and no one's going to see them if you don't necessarily have, if they're not watching me, which I assume that most of the world isn't watching me. So if that's you, share it and make sure that you post this. And now I want to take just a few minutes and I want to answer any questions you may have when it comes to transparency and vulnerability, because it is a real deal. So Mallory says, thank you for sharing this. Vulnerability breeds trust with others. Exactly. Help with ourselves. I feel the same way. I love that. I love how challenging I feel now to open up my heart, Amanda. I love that. Thank you. Angela Parker, love you. Love this topic. How would you distinguish the difference between transparent and being versus authentic? This is such a great question. Bear, stop. This is my dog. He's once in on it. Okay. So transparent is, I can share anything, but it's not really the deepest level of me. It's transparent. It's, hey, I got no money to pay for gas right now. Hey, my husband and I had a fight last night. Hey, and we're sharing information, but we're not really disclosing what we need. And it's kind of like we're sharing it, but we don't want feedback. But vulnerability is when we share something and we want feedback. It's the part of us that knows if I share this, it might actually affect the way they view me, and that would affect me. So transparency is like, if you don't like me, oh well, live with it. This is who I am, right? But vulnerability is like, vulnerability says, this is who I am. Hold on, I'm sorry. Instagram is pausing for a minute, and I want to make sure they catch this. Vulnerability is saying, this is who I am, and I'm going to tell you, and if you don't like me or this affects your experience of me, that's going to hurt me, but it's worth it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So that's really, really important. Sorry, I know that Instagram is going down very quickly, so I do apologize for that. Anything else you guys might have? Let's see. I know you guys are asking questions. So that's the difference. And for me, I feel like I'm the only one that can really know the difference between authenticity or transparency and vulnerability. I'm the only one that can decide that, because I'm the only one that's really going to know when I'm going a level deep and I'm really sharing what's happening on the inside of me. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's see. How do we choose the right person? That is such a great question, Amanda, and I love that. And I would say the way that we choose the right person is you need to spend some time. And for some of us, we need to actually get a professional in our life, which you're like, what do you mean? And see, for me, when I had postpartum depression 3 different times, I couldn't just go to my girlfriend. I mean, that was overwhelming. I had 4 kids. Like, the last thing that they wanted was me saying, like, I am in serious need and I know what's going on. I needed to go to somebody who had the ability to hear me out. So what I would say is, if you don't obviously know somebody in your world that's trustworthy and you go, yeah, they can hear me out, then my suggestion to you is that you go find professional help. You get somebody in your world, whether it's a doctor, a counselor, a pastor, or a leader, or someone in your world that you can go share what's going on in a way that they will keep it, because this is very, very important. You will not be vulnerable if you don't feel safe. You won't. Now, you don't have to feel safe to be vulnerable. This is critical. So you won't be as vulnerable consistently. And so what you need is people to carry it. And I just feel like, at least with me, if somebody can honor what I'm sharing with them and hold it in their heart, it doesn't really matter how long we've been together. I have friends that I've known my whole life. I would never share my deepest pain or heartache or whatever it was, joys, they wouldn't be able to protect it. And there's other people in my world that I have not known that long, but there's something about them. I just know if I share this with them, they will keep this safe. They will protect me. They will love me through this. And you don't need a crazy amount of people. Like, this is where we get caught up. Sometimes we're like, oh, I need a tribe. And like, no, statistically, you have about 5 good friends in your life. Did you know that? Your whole lifetime, like 5 authentic, real friends. So don't get caught up in the whole, friends, sitcom of like, I need like these 6 guys and these girls and we need to have this moment. Like, don't get caught up in all of that. Just stay humble and be like, God, if you can give me 2 really good people, maybe it's my spouse, maybe it's best friend, maybe it's a pastor, maybe it's a roommate, maybe it's a sister, maybe it's a leader, but give me 2 or 3 really good people that are in my corner. And I just want to practice this. I don't need a massive amount of people. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, good. I'm glad, Suzanne. I love that. So find those special people. And I would actually kind of test them. And I don't mean this in a weird way, but what I mean is like, I'd throw something out at them that, if this went out, wouldn't be a big deal. If I share this with them and I've been healed from this moment. So it's going to sound really vulnerable, but I've already shared this or I've already experienced this. So I'm going to share it. It's like, if you talked about maybe someone passing away in your life, or maybe you went through bankruptcy, or maybe somebody it was very hurtful relationship, an ex-spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, and you share about it, but you're healed enough that if it got out, it wouldn't be a big deal. I would test them and I would share it and see how the reaction is. And you're kind of you're testing the water to see if this is someone that you're going to have chemistry with, friendship chemistry, and that they're safe. And then as you test that out, and then you can see, okay, now I can share a little bit more. And just don't throw everything out. I think about the Bible that says, like, don't throw pearls before swine. Don't just give everything away. Your heart is very, very special. Your internal man is so valuable. So be careful who you share it with. Okay, good. Instagram is kind of coming back. Sorry, guys. Let's see what else we got. Love the conversation. Oh, you guys are so great. All right, let's see. So true. Find those special people. I agree. I'm going to save that. Sorry. And share. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to go live one more time over on Instagram. Forgive me. I'm just going to throw this up. So sorry. Give me 1 second. We just have bad connection over there. Thank you for trying to explain to my daughter at 15 that she doesn't need 100 friends. Exactly, Heather. This is the lie that the American woman or the world's woman believes. And that is, I am not loved unless I am popular. And I'm not popular unless everybody knows who I am and I have 1,000 friends. Stop with that. It is so important that we as women don't just focus on quantity, but we focus on quality. That's the kind of people we want in our world. And the older you get, the more you realize that quality people that love you. And let me just say this. Sometimes we get stuck on it this is an immature way to look at friendship. They must be in the same world as me. They must be married like I am. They must have kids like I do. They must be the same age. They must look the same as me. They must have the same income bracket as me, the same education. Stop. That is going to limit you in any way to have a richness of relationship. Because most of my rich relationships are people that aren't my same age, don't have as many kids, don't even live in the same city sometimes, don't have the same education. I definitely don't have the same income, but they're my friends. They get me. It's like you talk to them and they're like, you go, yeah, that's a person that understands me and they can respect where I'm at and love me where I'm at. So some of you're like, oh, I don't have any friends. And I'm like, well, have you looked and seen if there's any women out there that could be the right person in your world? They're just not exactly in the same season. Actually verbalizing. Okay, awesome. My doula and my therapist. Exactly. I even tried my husband, but he couldn't relate, so sharing was hard. Yeah, so find the right person and go from there. Anyway, I love you guys so much. I don't see any more. I love that. Hi, Thailand. I know Instagram is just having a hard time over there, so I'll have to come back over here. In your opinion, do you feel it's good for a 15-year-old daughter? She comes to me, but sometimes I feel she needs a great friend to share. No. I actually think it's great that your daughter comes to you at 15. I think that at the end of the day, you're going to be one of her richest relationships. This is her cheerleader. You are her mother. Like, you are always going to cheer her on and love her. And there'll be a time when she'll go, okay, Mom, I want to find other friends. But right now, establish that friendship. And if you have a 15-year-old daughter that wants to share with you, be that person to her. This is incredibly important to her, and that relationship, mother and daughter, is vital. And then encourage her, sweetheart, nurture other friendships and encourage her in that, but never cut her off. This is critical. Even with my mom was one of my closest friends at 15, 16, and by 17, I was like, okay, where's the guys? Where's everybody else? But listen, my mom is one of my best friends today, and that's because she stayed in the game when I was in my teenage years and she didn't check out. So that's really critical. My mom looked at me as a friend, but not just treat me like a friend. She looked at me as a vital part. And I remember she would have chosen to do something with me more than even her own friends. And that created such a value in my own life. So yes, 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 and amen. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope that this speaks to you. If it does, don't forget to share it on your friend's wall or repost it on your own wall. And leave me any comments below that you might have. And if I can get to it, I'll definitely try and answer any questions you may have and at least take a minute to respond. But I love you guys. I always am grateful for a little bit of your time. Happy Thursday, and I'll catch you next time.